Good evening, and here are today's Tropics for September 14th, 2019. Today we're talking about Tropical Storm Humberto right here. First off, I'm not a meteorologist, and this video is just a collection of my opinions about the system and its forecast, and any decision making should be left to the National Hurricane Center or your local forecasting office. So again, we got Tropical Storm Humberto here. You can see that the spin, or the little center here, is much better defined than even yesterday when it was a tropical depression. And earlier it was actually an exposed center, so the convection was displaced to the north and east, but it did get a convective burst over the center, so the shear is starting to decrease. There is a bit of southerly shear. If you can see here, the cloud tops are going a bit south. It's a bit hard to see as nightfall is beginning and it's cutting off the end of the loop. But there is that southerly shear, but it's not as bad as the southwesterly shear, and it's allowing the center to organize. You can see the very well-defined outflow out here to the north, to the west. This is a sign that the westerly shear has decreased and isn't really affecting Humberto right now. Also, you can see the banding to the southeast, which is making the system a bit weighted to the southeast. And also, the strong northeasterlies here are moving to Florida, where it hits mostly light wind, which is causing convergence and thunderstorms right here. That's actually just south of me. If we go to the infrared light loop, see that here there are some small areas of negative 80 degrees Celsius convection, but mostly 70 or 70 below. And you see it's starting to degrade a bit, maybe because of that slight southerly shear. So you can see that that is over the center, so it is helping organize the system. And then you've got the banding here and the convergence. So, and yeah, this is basically like another way to look at the system. But yeah, if we look at the water vapor loop, so you can see that there is that upper low out to the west. There is that westerly flow, but it's much less well defined, and you don't see it coming into the system like we did yesterday. The upper trough seems to still be there, but it's much more detached from Humberto. It's not right in circulation like yesterday. So you can see there's that more southeasterly wind aloft. And it got outflow in a very well-defined ridge at the upper levels, and even like an almost like closed anticyclone around this area where we got a lot of convection, possibly due to that enhanced upper divergence in the middle of the upper anticyclone. You can see it does come up to like this here, which is causing some of that southerly shear, so it might even be caused by its own outflow slightly. And then as this southerly wind aloft hits calmer wind aloft as outflow tries to expand on the south or southern end of this convective burst, there is that subsidence right here where you can see the drier air. So since the southerlies here aren't as strong, it's not affecting the system as much, and it's kind of helping it keep that dry air at bay and not really basically degrade the system too much. There is again some degradation of the convective burst, but it is better organized than yesterday for sure. Right here we got a reconnaissance pass. We got one earlier. It was right here, the wind shift from the north here. You can see the southerlies here. So there's a wind shift in this area where the plane was flying through 722 EDT today. So it did find 1,003 millibar pressures, which is 2 millibars lower than the 5 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center. So it does seem that Humberto is slightly intensifying, which makes sense given the increased organization. They're going in for another pass right now. That doesn't update for another couple minutes, but they are finding similar pressures near the low level center, so it's about 1,003 millibars or 1,002.9. But we'll have to see what happens once it finishes that center pass. It should update before this video is over, so I'll show you then. So if you look at the GFS, the analysis unfortunately didn't plot correctly, so it's only up to Wednesday around noon EDT. You can see some upper troughing here. So this is again not right now. This is Wednesday late morning. You can see this well-defined upper trough right here, as this is basically what's kicking Humberto out to sea, or not really out to sea, as it is probably could have impacts on Bermuda, but it is kicking it away from the United States at least. So here's the kind of hole in the upper level flow that is because of Humberto and its outflow and circulation aloft. And you can see the bit of that jet. We'll go and press play right here. So if you look at this, you can see a very well-defined, very strong jet aloft. So this is like around 130, maybe even 135 knot winds aloft, which is actually causing, probably would cause very extreme divergence at the upper levels, which would allow for more convection and strengthening. So that means Humberto here would be strengthening due to some baroclinic processes in that it is generating some energy from mid-latitude processes rather than tropical processes. So we'd probably be seeing some strengthening here before it starts getting sheared. So if we go to the National Hurricane Center cone for the latest advisory, that was 5 p.m. EDT, see that the area of tropical storm force winds is a bit weighted to the east of the center. This is no surprise. The banding is all to the east, and there isn't really much to the west, so it makes sense that there isn't much going on in terms of high wind to the west, which is good because that means Grand Bahama right here isn't getting that strong wind. Parts of Abaco are, though, unfortunately, but it's much less than Dorian, and it should move away relatively soon. And as you can see, it gets kicked out by the upper trough, or that trough coming from the central U.S. Eastward into the Atlantic. But you notice that it does get close to Bermuda. Bermuda is in the cone right now. We don't know if it's going to get impacted, because the way the cone is, it could go all the way north like here and just completely miss Bermuda and have no impacts. But at the same time, since they are in the cone, it could have a direct hit. We don't know. It is about 4 days out, a bit more than 4 days out if it does happen, so we'll really just have to look at the trends and see what does happen. As it does go north, it gets into more favorable conditions with those warmer waters south of the Gulf Stream and less shear. And as it does get near Bermuda, it starts speeding up as it really gets kicked out by the trough, and gets an upper level divergence from the jet allows it to strengthen to a category 2 here. That's what the National Hurricane Center is saying right now. We'll see how that goes. It seems about right to me, but like, go back to the reconnaissance. It should have updated by now. Let's see if it did. Yep, here it is. So they hit the center very well this time. See a very well-defined wind shift differential of 180, going from the southeasterlies here to the northwesterlies here. They found the tropical storm force winds at flight level, which is no surprise. It is a tropical storm. If we go here, I can't go right here. Sorry. This is 10 minutes later. So see here that the pressure bottomed out at 1,001.7, which is about 1.5 millibars lower than last pass. There is a possibility that they did miss the center a bit, so it might have not strengthened as much as this tells you, but it has been strengthening slightly, which again is no surprise given the organization trends. And so it's likely in the 8 o'clock advisory, which should be happening soonish, has the pressures lower. The 50 mile an hour wind estimation, though, still seems pretty good, as that's what the aircraft is finding. They're not finding anything much stronger, so there isn't much that would say it's like a 60 mile an hour storm right now, at least. But it is slowly intensifying. Anyway, that's about it for tonight. There's a system out in the main development region that has a 60% chance of forming in the next 5 days, but the main development region has been rather hostile this season, so we'll have to see how it goes. If it does end up developing, there are possible impacts on the Antilles Islands, but we'll have to see how what happens. Anyway, I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and thanks for watching.